All right. Thank you guys for coming to our first and maybe the last. It's up to you. Okay. Can you cut the video? Thank you for coming to the first 10con. The beginning of a series of talks. No, it's not. It's 10 minutes talks, 6 talks in an hour because 1 hour is boring and 11 minutes is not cool. So 10 is the perfect time. It's not my idea actually. There was a week ago in New York. They had like a 10conf. That's where I came with the idea and inspiration. You're late.
I'm sorry. This is seat safe just to bring cookies. Cookies.
So, anyway, so it's not my idea, but I think it's a cool format. Worst case, it won't gonna work. So please send me email if you want to give me any feedback. You can tell me that I suck or the format sucks, but be nice. Tell me you suck because of ABC. So if it will be fun and people will enjoy it, we can do it again. And if not, we're just gonna kill it. That's about it. So I have this little device, and I'm gonna hit a button, and I have 10 minutes to talk. I can do it less than 10 minutes, and then the next speaker will come up until the last speaker. So there won't gonna be any breaks or anything. So if you're now, if you need to pee or whatever. So hopefully know what button to, because this is like a TV crazy remote, and this is just doesn't make sense, but there's 20 buttons.
I can use my iPhone to.
Ha! All right. So I want to talk about the engineering website. So if some of you know, hopefully all of you know that we built a little website for our company. It's not just engineering, but it's right now mainly engineering, but it also have a place for product people or marketing or sales, whoever want to contribute content. And it can be culture related, it can be social events, and it can be geeky stuff or just even geeky weird hobbies, or pointing at you just randomly. So that's kind of the site that we built, and I want to show you guys how to contribute. And it's fairly easy. It's a little bit geeky, but I think that the geekiness is part of it. What makes it nice. I only have 9 minutes, so I'll try to be right to the point, and a little brief history will be nice. So hunter-gatherers. So I think 250,000 years ago, we hunt for food. So we chased big animals, mainly small because the big were scary and killed us. And it was very scary, and we didn't have a land. We couldn't stay in the same place. We had to constantly move around, and we died from diseases, and the kids didn't survive. And then something disruptive happened, and it was about 10,000 BC. And it was the time when we learned you can take animals. It started with dogs and sheep, and tame them and use them for our needs, for whatever need it is, even that's just for fun. I mean, just cosmetics. And also we learn how to use the land and have farms, and basically the agricultural revolution started. And there were some people who stayed behind and didn't evolve, but most of us moved to the agricultural phase, which was last for about 10,000 years, and then it's our agricultural phase. And then came the Industrial Revolution, which is also a disruptive moment. This one happened about 1750 until 1850. And in this phase, basically, we started to use machines and to automate the previous phase. So we started to find ways to make it easier for us to get the food and grow it and cultivate animals and so on. And after the industrial phase came the information revolution. Some historians would argue that it's the same as the industrial, some will not, but we don't really care. So the information era is basically that information is important, and knowledge is a commodity, and we need to can trade information. And Then came Hello Kitty.
What?
So 1974. She lives in Britain. She's 3 years old and she weighs her height is 5 apples tall. Her favorite word is friendly or something. Yeah, I don't know why she lived in London. Obviously, that's a joke. Hello Kitty is not any disruptive revolution, but it's a funny cat. But this cat, actually, it's not a cat. It's an octocat. It's an octopus in a cat's costume. Who doesn't know what this symbol means? Anybody in this? You don't know? Okay. It's okay. Um, so basically, this might be the next revolution. I have 6 minutes, by the way. I didn't even talk about the engineering website, which is kind of sad, but that's more fun. So GitHub is a company, and it uses a tool that some of us are used called Git. And this tool that's where we manage our software. And I think that Adam will talk about it later. But what this stuff, the way that we work in software, and it lets us basically there's like millions of projects, and many of them are open source that we constantly use, and we can go and take them and change them, and then create a better project. And that's kind of like where the industry is going toward open source and distributed and small little applications that work together. And those of you who are familiar with the Unix philosophy, I think that will understand the concept of small things doing one thing right. You can find billions or millions of small applications and use it for. It's very interesting because GitHub approach and apply it on the industry or even like corporations and companies. And I think that that's where we should go to. Create small units inside the company that can do one thing and do it great, and empower those small units basically, and don't create structure that tell the units what to do, but let the structure evolve from the units from the bottom up. And if previously you come to a company and you joined and somebody told you what to do, and there was a lot of processes, a lot of structure, that's how it is in many companies. But I think the industry changes, and I think this GitHub idea is kind of like a good representative of this change, of us, people who actually do the work. We know sometimes better than our boss what is the right thing to do. So the interesting part is how to, or the management need to understand it and give us the power to enjoy our work and be more effective, basically. So that's kind of like the GitHub, and that's it for my slide. So I'm stealing some of those ideas from a bunch of the guys like Mikhail and Isaac from the Node community. Those are the main Node guys. It's not my ideas. So that's basically it, and that's why I think that Git is a good tool. That's a way to contribute to the engineering website is using Git. And those of you who are not familiar with Git, you don't want to be the farmers in the revolution, right? Or you don't want to be the hunter-gatherer in the agricultural revolution. You got to step up in time and just join the revolution. So try to learn Git. So there's 2 ways to contribute to the site, and you can I'll show you the README. So if you go here, click on the GitHub. That's where we host it. It's on the GitHub website. And there's a README file here. So 2 ways. One is the simplest way, which is just email. For now, you can email me. Later on, it might be somebody else. Just email me a Markdown file. I'm going to ask, what do you know what Markdown is? Somebody doesn't know and want me to give a brief of what Markdown is. Nobody raised his hand, but I don't believe you. You guys are lying to me. Embarrassing. So basically, it's okay, great, Michael. Markdown is a simple way to write HTML. Nobody wants to write HTML because it's annoying to open and close tags. So instead, you can see the cheat sheet that I wrote here. You can just do a pound and then create H1. 2 pounds will create H2, or links. So this is a link. You just put it in this brackets and then parentheses, or an image. You can add the exclamation mark to create the image, or even pieces of code with 2 tabs or 4 spaces. So basically, you can email me a Markdown file, and I will make sure that it will be published on the engineering site. Another option is just to fork the project, and you can go to the GitHub site. There's a fork button. You fork it, and then you just clone it. You need to understand Git for doing it, but that's the process. You fork, you clone it, you add your file or Markdown file, and then you go to the GitHub site again. You do a pull request, and then I will receive it, and I'll see, oh, John wants to add a blog post, and I will add it to the site, to the real site. And I'll show you a real example. So I got the Markdown file today from Lauren. I don't know if Lauren is here. But that's how a Markdown file looks like. So it's simple. This is going to be the title and the name, and this is the text, and these are images that she wanted me to have of their. They went to an event a week ago, Dominic's teams, and they want to put it on the blog. So I'm going to just move it. I'm going to move it into my. I'm running it locally. It's a Node.js server, and I'm hitting refresh. And this is the Markdown file that is converted to HTML, and you can see it here. Okay, pretty simple. Those are the links, the images that she put there. I have 45 seconds. Let's try to push it to production quickly. See if I'll make it. Never works doing this stuff live, but whatever. Ajax. Okay, this is something that only a few people will be able to push to production. Maybe I can't talk to you right now because I have 12 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go to the engineering site. Let's give it. Woohoo! Ah. Yeah. Who's next?
Control Shift.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No problem.
10 minutes, 10 seconds back.
Okay, so basically, my name is Adam Avila. I work for the application services team. Kind of, I guess, wanted to talk about our SCM workflow and kind of how we view that. And let me look at my notes so I make sure I get the right thing. I'm actually going to be using the whiteboard. We good, Nick? Okay. So basically, I'm not an SCM expert. I don't pretend to be one. I don't know all the ones out there. I don't know how to write one. I don't particularly care about that. I'm not going to say really anything. The stuff I'm going to say is actually old way of thinking about SCM. I'm mostly saying this because a lot of people have complicated, I feel like, SCM workflows with Git, and Git is a very powerful tool, but they're overextending Git and not just using it as a tool. They're starting to use it, I think, a little too crazily, personally. I don't love a particular SCM, although Git is very helpful. I support open source software, so like even though this is a Microsoft site, like it's not a big deal, like it's not terrible, so don't think that's bad or anything. And then I use Linux, so all these things are my goal. Like what I'm going to share with you, I want to share with like what SCM strategy we use on our team and how it's been helpful, why Git is helpful, how basically what we do works, and then any Q&A. Basically, I want to try to hopefully stir up some controversy or people thinking about these things or possibly disagreeing with me so we can have some good conversations about why what I think we're doing is helpful as opposed to maybe the way you're doing it. So the SCM strategy basically that we use is branch per release here. And so how that works is just right there. You have your main line of development that's cruising along here. So your main vein here, we can call it master for our purpose. I'll just call it master. And so you have commits on here that are just cruising along. And people are always committing to here. And then say at this point in time, we say, you know what, branch this. And this will be 1.0 right here. And this branch is created in time. This goes to a environment to where it'll be regression tested automatically, all this stuff. And then at this point in time, we just tag it. Very simple stuff probably to most of you. And this is where there's just a little bit of a naming convention here I can go over later, but this is basically a tag. and that gets pushed to production. So you have like a branch here and then a tag here. Pretty simple. You can use this with any SCM out there. This is for SVN, maybe even, gosh, whatever, Visual Source Safe or that terrible app. So that's basically what we do. You branch your release candidate and then you just tag what goes to production. Pretty simple. Everybody good? Nothing. Okay. So why Git is helpful in this is because everything's a branch, the way Linus made it. So Linus Torvalds wrote it probably in about 2 weeks, and he did a really good job at it. Everything's a branch, so it's really easy to use. Distributed, so I don't need to set up a server. I can do it all on my local box and do things simply. You saw him push to a remote server easily, picked it up and went live really easily. Deployment was really easy with it too. You can do things like this with it. Tagging's really easy and cheap. It's easy to undo things, see diffs, because everything's local, so it's very fast. The command line interface is quite good as well. To see diffs from other people or to pull in other contributors' changes. So collaboration's really easy, I feel like, and resolution is easy. It's a little different to think about instead of like SVN. I've come from CVS and SVN. And if you try to apply that methodology sometimes to Git, you'll get confused. But once you learn the Git way, it's really simple. How many people do not use Git? Okay, good. So there's at least some people. Great. Okay, so basically how our flow works is, is basically, everything, we all commit to master all the time. We're always working in master. So basically conflicts are resolved early. There's no code rot. You don't have this branch hanging out, merging back and figuring out what's going on. It's all right here. We all commit. We commit very small things. We see each other's commits all the time. I know where to look to code review. I know how to give people feedback on their code, all sorts of stuff like this. It helps you, it actually forces you to write code that won't break the build, right? So, and break the people I'm working with, and it helps me collaborate with the people I work with. We have a team of 6 to 8 contributors at times, so it's not a huge team, but we're talking to each other. Oh, are you working in this file? Oh, we had this conflict. How do I resolve this? We're talking about like collaborating. He comes over or she comes over, and we code through it. We code together. So it's helping me with collaboration, and it really helps me forces me to write tests too. At least me, because the way we've set up automated continuous integration deployment around this. Makes it so you want to get these features live. Basically, branches are only or mostly for release candidates. You usually don't, in this strategy, branch to have a feature. You just stick everything in master. Tags are made on the release candidate when it's approved. So once you're good on this, you tag it and it goes live. So I have some what ifs here, like what if there's a bug fix? Like, how do you handle that? So on a bug fix, basically, in this use case, we tag this, it went live. All the while, this went live like, Monday, and this is Tuesday's commits or something, and Wednesday. Oh no, this we found on Wednesday. Basically, you commit the bug fix here to master, tests and all, test pass and everything. You cherry pick in Git, you cherry pick it, but basically you take this commit and you commit it to here. So you have this release candidate. There's already things automated around this that continually integrate this and then deploy it into an environment to be tested by people. Very simple setup to do as well. Once this is good, then you tag again, and this is your 1.0.1, like your minor. And so all the while you still have one encapsulates these, however many bug fixes you have, and then you just tag off of that, and so this is your tag. So master just keeps growing, and then you just branch off of this and deploy that thing. And if you have bug fixes, you pull them in. Very rarely do you ever have like having to pull a whole feature into this, and that's indicative of how you actually structure what you work on and stuff like this. But that's how you do a bug fix. Rollbacks are the same way. So say we have 1.0 in production. This is going to be 1.1 right here. We create a 1.1. We tag it for 1.1.0, major minor bug fix. It totally bails. We already know 1.0.1 was in production, just rolls back, very simple. So multiple projects at once, like So the what if I have a whole bunch of projects at once? I have this feature, and this feature that all need to be in at the same time. My answer to that is more of maybe philosophical as opposed to maybe pragmatic, or like actually answering it through code. Things to think about if you have that going on is maybe your team is too big. You have too many people trying to put too many features at you at one time because you have a lot of people. So maybe you got to segregate your team. We have a small team, so it helps us to focus on little things. And our throughput makes it so we can only focus on certain things, which I think is helpful. Your workload might be unrealistic. Maybe people are asking for too much at one time. Your time to production is too long, so we deploy multiple times a week our code, so the features are very small, so I don't have a lot of features going into one. I look at things very little chunks at a time. How can I get to this goal, but take little baby steps to get there and do it continually, so I'm not like taking all of it and having to QA it all at once, things you probably already know. Things to challenge yourself on, or what I had to challenge myself on as well, is focus on smaller chunks of changes and then release them. That's about it for multiple projects at once. Then my changes will break stuff. So let's say you truly have a huge feature, like I'm totally redoing the whole ad delivery platform or something like this in my code base. My approach has been different. You could make a branch, right, and start developing there, but I really don't like that. I don't feel there's a lot of good in that. So I've adopted a develop in parallel. Dang it. A develop in parallel type mentality. So the code I'm committing to here is alongside the code that's already in production. It helps me catch any sort of syntax errors. It's loading into memory, all this stuff. So let's say I have function foo and I need bar to replace it. I'm developing it all at the same time. And then basically it's the light switch kind of mentality. You're testing it, all your unit tests are really good. And then the thing that's calling that, let's say, you light switch it on and deploy it to an environment. And once that's working, you remove this code. All the while you're going to the same thing. You're not having to have different branches and all this stuff. It's very, I feel it's been very simple, and I basically ran out of time. So please, okay, so I said if it's truly huge, you can branch. If you need a prototype, go ahead and branch. Please come talk to me if I gave you anything interesting.
Okay, I'm making meat. All right, my name's Danny Spielman. I work on the crowdsourcing team with Sveva. I was actually not scheduled to talk today. We had a no-show, but I just got back from CrowdConf up in San Francisco where I gave this talk, so I shortened it down a little bit, and yeah, I'll give it to you now. So how familiar are we with Amazon Mechanical Turk? Is that a pretty familiar term? Okay, quite a few. So we're using that right now to moderate our user-uploaded photos on our website. So let's just run through that really quickly. But we've been using Mechanical Turk and other platforms for crowdsourcing since about 2007, mostly for search and data uses. We're going to talk about photo moderation because it's very recent. It was very successful, thanks to Sait and Prem for a lot of help on that, actually. And it takes about 10 minutes to talk about because it's pretty simple. So you all know what a MIP looks like, but we've pretty recently gotten the feature to allow users to add these photos to a MIP. And like most of you know, opening up your website to anything the internet wants to put on it brings a need for content moderation. So this is some of the examples of photos we get. And we've got some business rules around them. We sell ad content, so we don't want businesses uploading basically clones of ads and getting these free ads on our website. So we have a little bit more of a custom need than most photo moderation tools have. There's a lot of different places you can go and sort of have an out-of-the-box crowdsourcing solution to photo moderation. Really only grab your adult content and the really bad stuff, whereas we wanted to start trimming out these logos as well, which wasn't something we were able to do with those out-of-the-box solutions. So the two in the top left are great photos. There's an inside of a Cold Stone, the outside of an auto care center. That's perfect. That's what we want. These two in the bottom right are also good. This is from a photo artist, so it's some of her work. And in the right we have the doctor at an eye care center. But these two logos are basically things we don't want in this photo section of the website. They should be actual photographs of interior, exterior, product, or employee. So we put up a HIT on Mechanical Turk. HIT stands for Human Intelligence Task. The idea behind Mechanical Turk is a requester puts up a HIT, a Human Intelligence Task, and it's called artificial intelligence because you kind of put it into this box and people look at it, work on the HIT, you pay them a couple cents, and you get their work back. So our HIT is bucket the photo. We've got a big list. There's instructions that are above this. You can't see them. That basically describe what we're looking for and what each one of these buckets means. We provide the worker with business name, type of business, 8 buckets. The top 4 are sort of the good buckets. They're the photos we want. The bottom 4 are the suppressed buckets. They're your logos, your adult content, and your unrelated photographs. And we had about, I would say 4, this only shows 3, 4 jobs that we would be wanting to tweak to get a good balance for workflow, for cost and accuracy. First one being the instructions. We went through tons of iterations on the instructions because we'd go in and look at the photos and they were labeling one type of photo incorrectly, so we would update the instructions, include a new example. That's a fairly intensive process of just newer instructions until it's very clear to the worker what they want, because you know what you want, but it's always a little different when you're someone who doesn't work here or something like that. Then there's qualifying a workforce. Mechanical Turk provides some sort of out-of-the-box qualifications like number of hits worked on, number of hits approved, and they also provide 2 they call masters pools of workers, one for categorization, which arises from Amazon's need to categorize all the products in their inventory, and they also have photo tagging masters. So we use the photo tagging masters for this HIT, and that gives us sort of a guarantee of good quality because they've got this photo moderation masters badge. They want to keep that, so they're not going to spam us with junk answers and let the bad pictures through and take off good pictures. The batch size is the number of hits we have up on Mechanical Turk at any one time. We found when we put up like 20,000 at once that we got some people who saw, look at all these, I'll just race through them really quickly and not pay attention and get out of there with my money. And the price for a task. So we pay 4 cents for 5 photographs. So with one worker, that comes out to about 1 cent per photograph. Slightly above because you pay fees to Amazon and you pay a premium for using their masters pool. And that's at the, in comparison to like a third-party photo curation company, they charge you about 6 cents a photograph. So we're getting a ton of cost savings of doing this in-house with crowdsourcing. So it's looked like for the past month. The yellow is the users on the website uploading photographs, and it's very periodic. Every week, every Sunday, bounces way down below 400, and then it comes back up during the week, probably because a lot of the people uploading photos are owners of the business, so they're doing it while they're at work. And the blue are Mechanical Turk workers reviewing the photographs. So we started requiring the photo moderation masters qualification on the 18th, and it took for workers to really pick up and notice it, and I think we raised the price of the HIT from 2 to 4 cents on the 28th, which would explain their newfound enthusiasm. And so the idea for this is to sort of have these lines kind of bouncing along together. They actually jump at different times. The workers tend to put in a lot of work on the weekends, and the users tend to upload fewer photographs on the weekends. So we kind of want to have these stay even over the course of a whole week. And we've actually pretty much gotten to that point, and we're starting to bite into the backlog of photos that we have from previous months. And with the and we do a weekly accuracy check of 200 photographs. It's actually not as many as that sounds. It's pretty quick to just click through and see what they were labeled. When we used workers outside of the photo moderation masters pool, they were labeling them with about 80% accuracy. And so we looked into using adjudication strategies of having 2 workers look at a photo, seeing if they agreed, and putting it to a third one. We decided it would just be easier to have a master's worker, which they work at 96% accuracy. And actually what we have right now is 2 master's workers working, and if they disagree, going to a third. But after a couple weeks of checking, I'm getting this 96% number fairly consistently. We're confident that we can scale back to 1 worker pretty soon and get some additional savings, and also be able to moderate more photos because there's going to be a marketing promotion on this. Seva, when is that? Next month, October 31st. Okay. And one of the interesting things that I found doing this was this isn't a the term crowdsourcing implies this very anonymous, enormous crowd. Here there's about, when I pull some, and so when someone new pops up, we can kind of go, okay, who's this person? Kind of vet some of their work and check out who they are. Start to really interact with those workers individually. We've given bonuses to some of the workers that really outperform the other workers in 1 week and stuff like that, and that makes them, I would say, loyal to us as a requester. They're going to keep looking to us for more work, and when we have, say, a new project or a whole bunch more photos from this marketing campaign, we can actually reach out to them directly and say, hey, we're going to have a ton of work this week, so come in and check it out. We'll even raise the price, or if you can do 20,000 photos this week, we'll give you a bonus. And I guess you guys have all seen this. This is a homepage. This is where we get some photos on the bottom. And cool. You did it in 10 minutes.
You have 40 seconds left. Do you want
to dance
or?
You got any questions from anyone? Yeah.
I'm just curious. Are most of your photos outside the country?
The workers from Mechanical Turk are split between mostly the U.S. and India. Our workers tend to be from the U.S. because that's where the master's workers tend to be, the workers with the master's qualification. So dear, you saw my seat. Oh, there. Let's see here. Here, you take this one. I'll take that one.
There it is. My name is Dave. I work down in production operations in the tools team, and I'll be hopefully showing you something somewhat interesting. How many of you use Jira? How many of you wish you didn't? Wow. Hopefully I can show you some things that might enable you to make your life a little more pleasant if it really ruins your day. So Jira, you may or may not know, is from a company called Atlassian, and they have done a pretty good job recently in the more recent releases of really joining the Web 2.x plus crowd and adding JavaScript and good CSS and layout to all their stuff. You don't see it in Confluence yet because we haven't upgraded, but you see it in Jira more and more, right? So what I'm going to demonstrate to you today is that there's actually a lot of flexibility in Jira that you probably don't know about, because embedded in this fun little thing is a full functioning jQuery library. So we'll take maybe a small part of some of your day and see if we can improve it a little bit. So let's just let's do a query for issues and just play with that experience. We do YP and update it, not and order by updated. So let's look at the YP backlog, order by updated descending, see what's going on there. So a lot of times you might be looking at this view, trying to get an idea of what's going on, but it really doesn't tell you a lot. Oh, shoot, I'm showing something new there. You see like a bunch of dates, status and stuff, but it's hard to get a glimpse of what's going on. In your role, you might want to know, you might be looking for comments a lot of times. You have an open ticket, you've opened one, you've reported one, or you're assigned one, and you're in the middle of a conversation with people who are stakeholders in that ticket. But you have no idea in this, unless you look at updated, which just tells you if it's updated, it could have been a comment, or it could be someone edited their description, or it could be someone changed some other field or label. So what if I want to know if someone commented on an issue recently? Well, right, again, this doesn't really tell you much. So we're going to have to play with some JavaScript and also Jira's REST API to make this view a little better. And I will show you off the bat what we will accomplish if my nervous fingers can scroll this thing. Take that, throw that in here. So we're going to add some badges to our ticket IDs. They show you a number of comments, and if you hover over it, what the latest comment was. Bam, just like that. So for one, let's see. I want to interact with Jira with JavaScript. So what's the standard API for doing that kind of thing with a web app? It'd be a REST API, right? So let's Google Jira REST API. There we go. Jira has a REST API. And look at all these fun endpoints. For one, okay, so we're interested in comments. So I could go here, but actually I played with this a little bit, obviously. So what I actually want is to get the data for a ticket at this resource. So what was that first one? Let's do YP9717 and get that. YP, what did I say? 9717, thank you. And there's some unformatted JSON of this whole ticket. And you'll find the key is right. So issue key is somewhere in there. And the comments are also in here too, right there. So what we can do, so you can see now the data that I used for that little pop-up thing. So we'll just insert some HTML into the page, pulling this data for each ticket. So, and a good way to do that, actually, you may not know about this either, but Jira has this extensions thing going here, which is actually a plugin that allows us to create and share JavaScript plugins with each other. On this page, you saw this nice time thing going here. This is actually this nice time extension that one of my teammates made. I'll show you the source for that. Tiny link. And so this JavaScript is running on the pages because I've subscribed to that plugin, and it changes the format to a nice thing. And so you can see that 7 users have discovered this on their own randomly, even though we never announced it. And so if you went to this extensions page, you'd probably see that down here under available extensions, and you could enable it in your issue navigator with time. Another example of how we've used this is for putting up email comments. You've seen in your comment section when you've got a big email chain going, you have like 10 lines of email headers. So I just threw together some JavaScript. This is not going to look pretty because I compiled it with I needed some libraries. I used the Google compiler. Just pasted it in here to help format email comments. So it hides all those headers into a nice little pop-up. I'd show you if let's just see if this ticket has some email going in it. And it does not. It does? Oh, this is copied and pasted. Didn't come from email handler. But it would put like a little mail icon. You can hover over it with your headers. So that's another way you can play with this. So let's continue with this example. So I'm gonna, 3 minutes left. I'm gonna make a new extension, paste the code in, and show you that it works. So you can create a new extension, just click that install button, use the wizard, comment badges, make Jira more informative. Create it successfully. Another random thing here is there's actually an embedded Git server, so you don't have to go through this web interface. You can just grab this URL, push and pull, clone, whatever, to be social about this. I'm just going to use the embedded web editor to paste my code in here. I don't need all of it. Document ready. Paste. Oh, I have 2 document readies. Let's do this. Quick run through the code. When the document is ready, it makes sure that we're on the issue navigator page. And then for every row on that issue navigator, they're tagged with the issue key class, and it will do the REST API call. I only care about the comment field for that ticket. If there's a comment, I do this. I do this check to check that there is a comment, and if there is, then I do all this fancy stuff to add the badge. Atlassian products also have their own little jQuery-like library or Bootstrapy library called AUI, A-U-I, and AJS. So I'm using their inline dialog, so it matches the UI with the rest of Jira. Here's an example of the inline dialog, this pop-up. So grab the latest comment here, because Jira always gives it to me in order. Comment some HTML for the dialog, or format some HTML for the dialog, save it. What this is doing is it's taking this text and packaging up a jar in the back end for its own plugin framework. So now I can enable it. I should have refreshed that first, but now it's enabled. I can refresh this again. There are my comment badges right there. So if you have a laptop open right now, you can go into extensions, look at available extensions. You'll see comment badges at the bottom. You can enable it, and you'll have these badges. So obviously, there are more things you could do to this, like use a colored label. You could highlight the ones that have a more recent comment, see which ones are comments today, differentiate from comments yesterday, before that. Lots of neat things you could do, obviously, with JavaScript. And this. Another quick example of how you can use the REST API outside of Jira. Use a JavaScript library, grab some data with some searches. This worked this morning, and populate a chart. I guess WebYP is not doing anything. Just kidding. But you can, here I'll just run through a code for the developers here. You can just do a bunch of REST calls, get search results for query. I'm querying here for issues that change to a certain status each day. Populate a chart. You can get some easy stats out of Jira with REST. If you have any questions about all this, feel free to come talk to us. We're also in the Prod Ops Tools channel on the IRC and Prod Ops Tools. After you copy and paste the Google search for the JavaScript to it. Anyway, thank you.
Oh. Oh, that's right. Sorry, go ahead.
We've done some very technical talks. Now we're going to talk about some food. Yes. So I'm going to be talking about biltong. Biltong's it's a dried meat, cured meat, originated in South Africa. We'll start with biltong, then we're going to get to something a little more technical. We're just going to break the ice a bit. So, what's that? Is anybody here familiar with biltong who perhaps I haven't introduced? Perhaps not. Okay. So it's strips of meat, usually cut along the grain of the of whatever meat you're using. It's very similar to jerky, but there are some very key differences. We use different spices. The drying process is slightly different, and as you can see, the meat is very, very thick. Like you use 1 inch thick pieces of meat to make the biltong. Its origins come from South Africa.
The original European settlers who went to South Africa, mostly Dutch, were traveling very. Yes, look at that. Check out that URL if you want to create a slideshow in about 10 seconds. So those people were settling in South Africa. They had to travel very long distances. They didn't have a way to keep food. So biltong was a very instrumental piece in them getting to their destination and settling where they wanted to. The ingredients, very simple. Big pieces of meat, black pepper, coriander, salt, vinegar, and sometimes use sugar, brown sugar. The types of meat you can use, pretty much anything. Mainly they use beef. The original settlers, of course, didn't have the cattle, so they were using game that exists in Africa and still is there today. Those were like kudu and springbok, very, very similar to venison. How to make it. So it's a very, very simple process. What I usually do is I take sirloin or London broil, big pieces, like I said, an inch thick. An inch thick is good. I take a nice big steak and I cut it in half. From that point, I cover it in salt. When I say cover, I mean a good amount. Don't be shy. Put it in the fridge for about 24 hours, and it's going to suck a lot of the fluids out. At which point, take it out of the fridge, wash it off in apple cider vinegar, maybe let it soak for a minute or two, so it absorbs some of that flavor, and also the vinegar will help with the drying process. After which you lay it out, put it on a nice big spread. I usually do like, I don't know, 10 pounds at one time because it's quite an effort. So why do small batches, right? And plus I like to share it with my friends. So lay it out, salt, pepper, coriander, and then all you do is put it in some place that flies aren't going to get to it, and it's going to get airflow. I've seen people put it in a closet with a fan. I've seen a clothes dryer outside that has a fan pointing at it turning. What I do is I've got a big Rubbermaid box that I've cut the top off of, and I put netting over it, and I've got the sides well. Put a big fan on top, and it blows air out the sides. 2 to 3 days, you've got this awesome, delicious meat. People might want to compare it to jerky, but I guarantee after you taste this, you'll have a different definition of jerky. And I feel very terrible because, well, here I am talking about this awesome food, and I've got none to share. So next time I make a big batch, I'm going to let everyone know, and you can all come try it. So this is going to take us into SSVM. I've talked about how we, got you. Talked about how we slowly dry meats, and SSVM is how we very, very quickly deploy Linux servers. So I'm going to talk about SSVM. Would you like the mic? Would you like me to start? Okay, all right. So I'm hoping most of you are familiar with SSVM, right? You've used SSVM. Perhaps some of you have not, so this is an awesome opportunity for you to learn about it. SSVM stands for Self-Service Virtual Machines. So ssvm.corp.atti.com. You go there and you can set up a machine in a couple minutes. If you request the default settings, which is 1 CPU, 2 gigs of RAM, 35 gigs of disk space, it'll build automatically without Marge, myself, or anyone on our team to approve it. If you want bigger specs, it's going to require our approval, and you just give some justification about why you'd like that spec of machine. There are reasons why SSVM is awesome. I mean, you have an idea, you want to work on it right away. You don't want to wait for someone to provision you a machine or what. Go and fill out this form, and it's going to be built for you right then and there, and you can start developing. If it's a non-prod environment, it's even better because you have the ability to go and make yourself and others. Well, you will by default be a privileged user, but you can go and make other people privileged users. So you don't have to wait for any back and forth between operations. You can go to SSVM, give your coworkers privileges, and you can start deploying immediately, developing immediately.
You can build Sentinel 5 so Sentinel 6 available now. And also, if you need Red Hat, actually a custom as far as
yeah, there's a pull down for default, and if you'd like to have a custom build, pull down custom, and you'll have the option for RHEL 6.
When do you think?
No, not happening. So the owners have the ability to reboot, rebuild, and destroy. You can specify desired resources like we spoke about, and yes.
have,
What are what are what are some of the limitations, Marge?
limitations. Sorry. You have to request NFS.
And on that topic, I mean, SSVM was built as a quick solution to, help us deploy some of the stuff that you guys are developing. We're hoping that the apps are being developed in such a way that if you do want to have more disk space, it's easy for you to go and have another SSVM built. You go and deploy there and to go, instead of worrying about having to adjust disk space on VMs, which can sometimes be cumbersome and tedious for an operational staff. Even building in those features to a system become cost prohibitive at a point because you're spending a lot of money on hardware that perhaps we don't want to put in our environment. Yes?
Do you do developers? Like through the interface?
I don't see why not.
You
Yeah.
can do anything you want with them.
It's like any other.
Except, sorry.
So a lot of the DNS stuff.
DNS is all automatic, so we don't do like from any of the, you can't do non-prod to non-prod VM, right? But you can do it to like a W1
So we're not gonna
right, the standard.
yeah
Right.
we're not gonna create CNAMEs or extra DNS within NP
Or
prod WC1 EV1. But if you want a CNAME from like something.wc1 or something.ev1, that's totally fine. Any limitations? Oh, one other limitation would be shared resources, right? You're on a VM. There are going to be a couple of other VMs on that host. So limitation is going to be disk, CPU, network that are shared with among all those machines.
You get a really
Brand new G7s, faster disks. They got 10 gig networking and 10 gig redundant networking. Yes. Oh yeah. So non-prod VMs expire. When you create a non-prod VM, it's got an expiration date, so it's going to go away unless you go in and take action and say don't expire. Production VMs will not.
the life of VM all the way until 2050.
So I think that's it. Building an SSVM.
No Ubuntu, no dance. Maybe Mark will do some games.
Or you put it on Keynote here. Okay, you Brad. It's your machine. I don't want to pull up, No.
Downloads, sorry, downloads. Eating from your time, huh?
It's fine.
Yeah, you good?
Sounds good. I'll just count down to 1 minute and see how fast I can go. All right, so the talk is bank loopholes and vacations in Bermuda. I'm the anonymous credit card user, part of the information security team here. So InfoSec, we need to think like bad guys going to jail. So think bad enough to be bad, but not so bad that we have Bubba next to us for jail. So I'm going to kind of give you the end and go backwards memento style on how I came to this arrangement. So the goal is for Bank of America to fund me to go to Bermuda. And that's kind of the end goal in this arrangement. And we all think in our daily lives about different loopholes. There's a movie called Arbitrage with the wonderful year that came out. Arbitrage opportunities are everywhere. For those that favor extreme couponing, that's a fun type of activity for some. and of course, bringing down the house. So these are different muses. So when you run a business, you run different types of marketing and promotions, and the marketing people come up with great ideas to get people to spend money and get customers, and the technology people are said, go, figure this out, do this. And sometimes the marketing people and the promotions people don't always talk to the technology people, and the QA isn't always done all the way around between those. So I'm going to show how a large bank has one of these types of problems. Well, we'll go back one. So this all started about a week ago, well, about a month ago, when I actually need a washer and dryer for a new place I'm moving into. So where are you going to get a washer and dryer? Well, I thought Best Buy. So I went to Best Buy online, picked out the one I wanted, purchased it with my Bank of America credit card. Great. And then I realized a week later, somebody told me, oh, you overpaid for this washer and dryer online on bestbuy.com. You should go buy it in the store because they offer free delivery and online, but they don't. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. So fine, I go online, I cancel my order. Fine, my order should be canceled with Best Buy. You know, credit card, easy, simple. And then a few days later, I log in. As you're making a large purchase, you know that you want that money back on your card. You go out a couple $1,000. And so I realized that Best Buy had this promotion. And this promotion said you get 3 times the rewards when you do back to school spending. So 3 times roughly 1,700 or so is 1,500. So I got, great, a lot of extra points. And then when the card is reversed, they only reverse the initial charge, not the extra back to school points that I'm getting. So, you buy 3 times the number of points with this particular merchant, and they only take back 1x the number of points. Sounds promising. So 3x, which is points or dollars, minus 1x, points or dollars, is 2x. So what can I do with x? And what is x? And then hopefully the bank didn't make x to be infinity with this particular situation. Okay, well, let's look legitimately what x is. X is number of point value. And the Bank of America has this wonderful point chart of you have starting with 2,500 up to 50,000 points. And if you redeem it back into your Bank of America card, hey, if you have a $35,000 credit limit, that could be an extra $525 for yourself just for buying something and returning it online. And hence, thank you, Bank of America. So the point is, when you're designing business and promotions, make sure that you fully vet out all scenarios with all your teams, and sometimes check in with your InfoSec folks to see if you got the right product. Thanks.
I think seriously.
No, it's been redeemed. I'll prove it to you.
Vacation slides are next week.